A lot of people keep asking me the same question. Is the boycott actually working? Today we get a little bit more confirmation on this. I know we want proof that our boycott of US travel and products is doing its job. Personally, I feel it is. We want to know that our efforts are actually making a difference. Well, today I have two reports, one out of Morro Bay and another from Hawaii, that continues to show the impact of fewer tourists showing up. Now, even when these reports try to blame it on other factors like exchange rate or weather or whatever other excuse they use, the pattern is still there. We can see through the US exceptionalism. I know declining Canadian and international tourism can't take all the credit. But like it or not, US businesses, we are a big part of why your numbers are struggling. I also have another report from an RV media website that looks at what happened last year with RV campground reservations. Some resorts are clearly struggling. And guess what their solution is for 2026? Marketing and targeted outreach. Yeah, we've heard that one before. Lastly, the CEO of Scotiabank has openly said that he supports the Trump Doctrine and the America First movement because he believes his bank will do well. I'm not a Scotiabank customer. I never have been. But hearing that would definitely make me pause and think whether or not I want to continue banking with them. So we'll get into all of that in today's episode. The backdrop for today's video comes from JP once again. This photo was taken at Wedgemont Lake and Glacier. If you look closely, you can barely see two tents right along the shoreline. I'm not sure if it's JP or not. It's an incredible shot though. Thanks again, JP, for sending all of these in. Now, before I get started, if you missed my YouTube post, Guard the Leaf and the Enemy From Within YouTube channels have teamed up to create a Discord server. So if you're on Discord, you might want to check it out. It's a place where people can come together to chat, talk about current events, share links, and yes, even post your pet photos. If you're already on Discord or you want to join a space with like-minded people, the link will be in the description below. Alright, let's get started with the first report out of Morrow Bay.
A quieter than usual summer in Morrow Bay has tourism leaders and businesses looking ahead to 2026. I'm your community reporter, Valentina Saldaña, and I found out how they're going international to bring in more visitors.
Okay, quick interruption. Do they really think international visitors want to come to the United States in its current state? Racism, CBP, ICE issues, ICE shootings, US citizens standing up to ICE and protesting. The list goes on. Canadians are avoiding the US for many reasons. But what I find ironic is this new bright idea seems to be bringing in visitors from the rest of the world, as if the rest of the world can't see what's going on.
Tourism in Morro Bay this past year looked different from season to season.
We're up, 5 to 10% January, February, March, leading into spring, and spring was really strong for us.
Visit Morro Bay Executive Director Michael Wamble told me that in the summer, there was a decrease in visitors, which they believe was caused by the cooler weather in the Central Valley and carryover effects of the Highway 1 closure.
Well, this is a new one for me. I've never heard a tourism director or anyone in an official capacity blame a drop on visitors on a highway. He does eventually go on to mention international tourists later in the video. But honestly, does this guy not watch the news to see what's actually going on in his own country?
Summer period, we're seeing occupancy down anywhere between 7 and 10% through the summer period for us, which is really unusual. That is our peak period of travel.
The Duchy in Morro Bay has been in Inika McGraw's family for about 40 years. She tells me that they definitely saw changes in daily average customer count.
February through July, we saw a downturn about 30 customers a day on average. And then in August through September, we saw it up about 20.
Wambold said that they also saw about a 5 to 7% decrease in international travelers, a group that Morro Bay Tourism has relied on in the past.
International for us here on this Darrow Bay can be anywhere between 10 and 15% of our total travel through those timeframes, through summer and then early fall.
McGraw tells me that her restaurant noticed that change.
We probably saw a little bit of a downturn, but I still saw quite a bit of Europeans coming through the restaurant, especially on the weekdays.
So in order to address those downturns, Wamble told me they are planning to focus on bolstering events in Morro Bay that would draw people in. Additionally, Visit Morro Bay has contracted offices at two top touring markets for California, which are the United Kingdom and Germany.
So let me ask my UK and German viewers, will you visit Morrow Bay this year? Will their big international marketing and promotional campaign persuade you enough to visit their small city? Will you attend a trade show or any other events that they plan to send to your countries? Let us know in the comments below.
This gives them international representation by attending trade shows and training tour operators to raise awareness for Morro Bay as a travel destination. And the Duchy is also working on some marketing tactics of their own.
We're going to be trying some Google ads and just improving on our social media footprint, and then really talking about our 40-year anniversary.
You better make sure you don't have your Google ads running on my channel or any other Canadian content creator, because it's going to be a complete waste of your money. I do apologize if I sound overly critical of this restaurant owner or the tourism executive. This isn't really directed at them personally, but the United States as a whole keeps treating this whole tourism decline like it's a marketing problem. It's not. It's the US president, his entire cabinet, ICE and CBP thugs, and the 77 million people who voted for him. Oh, and also the group that chose not to vote at all. No amount of marketing campaigns is going to fix this, and I really wish US businesses would start to understand that. What really irks me is the idea of saying, okay, Canada isn't coming back, so let's start sending marketing promos to UK and Germany instead. As if UK and Germany are somehow clueless. At this point, it feels like they're just looking for anyone who will hand over money. Now moving on to the next report, let's head out to Hawaii, somewhere that I'm very familiar with.
After decades in the islands, a major tax-free retailer pulling out of the market. Our Kristen Concilio explains why DFS is closing its stores at the Honolulu and Kahului airports and its flagship in Waikiki.
It's the end of an era for duty-free shoppers in the islands.
I mean, it's kind of tragic, but at the end of the day, times are changing, the world is changing every day.
After more than 60 years, you won't be able to buy this tax-free when DFS closes all of its Hawaii stores, including this one here in Waikiki.
Now, I've been to that store many times. It used to be part of our routine to stop there in Waikiki before heading out to the airport. It was always packed with tourists, and many of them being from Japan, who are also now staying away from the United States. So without international tourists, duty-free stores are going to be in a lot of trouble. And we already know that the duty-free stores along the Canada-US border are struggling as well or have already shut down.
Well, anywhere you travel in the world, if you can't buy duty-free on the way back to, your original country, it kind of sucks. So,
in a statement, the company says after 63 remarkable years in Hawaii, DFS has made the difficult decision to exit the market. That's after a major slowdown in international visitors, including the top-spending Japanese market, which is still struggling to rebound post-pandemic.
It couldn't have come at a worse time since our tourism numbers are down, and especially at compounds trying to allure international travelers back at this time.
DFS says it will close the Waikiki location on January 28th and the first duty-free shop in the U.S. at the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport on March 31st. It will also shut down at the Kahului Airport after its lease ends in August.
This is a big deal because it's not just one duty-free store, it's all of them. Later in the report, they do say that they're trying to secure a replacement store. But the fact that DFS, a global duty-free brand, decided it's no longer financially viable to operate in Hawaii, it really tells you where their tourism industry is headed. Now, when it comes to Hawaii, I do have a bit of a soft spot for the state, and I'll explain in a minute once this report is finished.
It's jobs, it's revenues, it's the taxes that they collect. All those things are very important to this tourism economy. You never want to see a company, an organization, a business that's been around for a while shut down, because that's a sign like, whoa, who's next?
The company wouldn't say how many employees will be affected by the closures, but the state is finalizing an agreement with a new vendor to open at the Honolulu and Maui airports and does not expect a loss in revenue.
Now, you might find a replacement store, but it's still going to be the same situation when it comes to international tourists. Now, back to why I have a bit of a soft spot for Hawaii. I have personal ties there. Hawaii is where I got married, and I also have a lot of friends in the state as well. My friends in Hawaii understand why we're not visiting. And they actually told us themselves that it's not safe there right now. And let's not forget, 2 German teens were detained and deported early last year. So Hawaii is not immune to everything going on right now. But aside from my personal ties, Hawaii is also the one state that has already lived through the same kind of threats that we're hearing now directed at places like Canada, Greenland, Panama, Cuba, Mexico. Did I miss any? I think there's one more. Anyways, Hawaii is a state that was annexed by the US government. The king was overthrown and the land was essentially stolen. Let me show you a quick clip that I used in one of my previous videos.
The Ali'i appointed missionaries to government roles, where they helped establish Hawaii as a sovereign kingdom with a constitutional monarchy. But once certain business opportunities emerged, namely the prospect of exporting sugar to the U.S. tariff-free, some of their descendants shifted positions. They formed a political group known as the Missionary Party and began plotting to annex Hawaii, bringing it under U.S. control. Liliuokalani and her siblings were born into an Ali'i family. In 1874, her brother, Kalakaua, ascended the throne, but 13 years into his reign, the emerging threat crystallized. The Missionary Party called a meeting where an all-white militia surrounded and forced the king to sign new legislation.
It happened back then, and we're seeing echoes of it now. I learned a lot about this history when I was asked to be interviewed by the Hawaii Business Magazine. That was back in July of last year, right around the time my channel was still new. If you want to hear more about how Hawaii was illegally annexed and why I have such a soft spot for the state, I'll leave a link to my interview with Ryan Kules from the Hawaii Business Magazine in the description below. I do highly advise you to watch it because I do leave some links on a documentary on what actually happened to Hawaii. Now I want to move on to an article that many of you have sent me. It's titled, Snowbird Parks Face a Mixed Bag with Canadian Travelers. This article focuses on the RV park industry. And while we do know that many snowbirds own properties in the United States, or some did and now they sold, many Canadians instead choose to rent spots in RV parks. Now I'm not going to read the entire article, but I do want to highlight a few key points and show you a graph from this RV booking website that clearly shows the decline. They start off by saying that all of their resorts are down in Canadian travelers this year. This article was actually published on January 6th, so I'm assuming they're talking about the bookings for 2026. So yeah, 2026 is off to a great start for the United States. That said, one resort, Southern Sands RV Resort, is somehow up. Why? I have no idea. Oh my god, hey, chill. Then they go on to say, and I'll quote, overall, however, the number of Canadian snowbirds staying at RV parks across the Sunbelt is down significantly this winter compared to last winter. Now this is what I really wanted to show everyone. This article states that Florida and Georgia are experiencing the biggest overall drop in Canadian business. However, the declining Canadian travelers is significant across the entire Sunbelt. And for those of you who might be listening to my monotone voice while out for a walk or on the treadmill or have this playing in the background, I'll read the percentages out loud. These are CampSpot's reservation stats by state. And just a reminder, CampSpot is an RV booking website. Georgia is down 71.3%. Alabama is down 60.2%. South Carolina is down 52.67%. Louisiana is down 41.7%. Florida is down 36.5%. Mississippi is down 30%. And Texas is down 24.1%. In my opinion, these numbers are more accurate than anything you'll hear from a U.S. tourism official, a U.S. business, politician, or a marketing manager. Why? Because these numbers come directly from a booking system. The exact system Canadians use and interact with to reserve, book, and pay for RV spots. That's far more factual to me than Ron DeSantis or some tourism CEO standing on a podium claiming that their season is great and that Canadians are flocking south. I encourage everyone to let these numbers sink in, and here's my question for you. Do you believe Ron DeSantis or any other tourism official saying everything is fine? Or do you believe hard data from a booking platform that shows a clear decline? Let me know in the comments below. Now, this next screenshot honestly kind of made me laugh a bit. The article goes on to say that they believe they can boost Canadian demand by using the following strategies: flexible terms and arrival and departure options, targeted Canadian outreach and remarketing, leveraging repeat guest relationships rather than relying on OTA-driven first days. To me, this is actually pretty funny, and it ties directly back to what I said earlier in my first report of this video. Freaking marketing is not going to work. So let me ask the community, for those of you who used to do RV trips to the United States, do any of these strategies actually make you want to go back and book an RV spot in the US? I think I already know the answer, but I want those who used to RV in the US to tell the community what you really think about these stupid promos and strategies, because I'm pretty sure none of them is going to work. And once again, I wish the US businesses and executives will get it through their heads that it's not a marketing issue. If you want to read the full article, I've left a link in the description below. Now on to the last article that was sent to me. It's titled, Scotiabank CEO Sees Trump Doctrine as a Positive for Growth. This is ridiculous if you ask me. He's the leader of a major Canadian bank and likely managing money for many of you watching right now. For the record, I don't bank with Scotiabank. The article goes on to say, and I quote, After what he described as a bit of a lost decade for regional growth, US President Donald Trump's renewed push for Western Hemisphere dominance should prove a longer-term positive. He then goes on to say, long-term, this is a good thing for the Western Hemisphere. It's a good thing for the United States. It's a good thing for the Bank of Nova Scotia. So in other words, he's saying he approves the chaos that Trump is causing because it will be a good thing for the Bank of Nova Scotia. Now this next screenshot is from a different article, but on the same topic. I'll leave links to both articles in the description below if you want to read them on your own. But Richard Brooks, the climate finance director at Stand Earth, said the following. I'm frankly horrified by his comments. He's not hiding his greed in any way. He's being very transparent that his bank is going to make money off disasters and military interventions. And I wholeheartedly agree. So for anyone banking with Scotiabank right now, what are your thoughts on this? Because this is the guy that's leading the institution that's managing your money. I'm not here to give financial advice at all, but it's a fair question to ask. Would you want your hard-earned money and your life savings with a CEO like this? Just something to think about. Okay, that's all I have for today's video. If you found any value at all in anything I talked about today, or you enjoyed the co-host distracting me during my commentary, please help out the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button below. And if you're still watching right now, thank you for sticking around to the end, because it does genuinely help the YouTube algorithm to push my video out to more people. And as a thank you, here's the co-host sitting with me while I'm editing this video. She might look cute and all, but we call her the monster. Why? Because 1 second she's head bumping you or wanting to be held, and then the very next second she might be hissing for absolutely no reason. We still love her though. She definitely has personality. Have a great rest of your day everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.